Today I'm doing a walkthrough and a review regarding the most interesting updates in Apple's flagship digital audio workstation, Logic Pro 11.2. So I'm not just going to highlight the updates and added features, but I'm going to test them and see if the updates are a real improvement and if the added features are really all that necessary. Now, while there are a few specific updates for the iPad, I'm not going to cover them here because I don't own an iPad. Anyways, we'll get started by looking at the new enhanced version of Stem Splitter, which allows you to take a stereo file and separate it into stems. Most notably here is that there's now specific stems made for guitars and piano, whereas in the past it would just fall under one category of other instruments or something like that. Now, this is a big one for me because if you've seen my Logic Pro 11 tutorial for the overwhelmed beginner, then you'll know that the initial iteration of Stem Splitter was something that I wasn't so impressed with. I found it to be pretty phasey and indistinct, especially on material with a lot of real instruments like real drums, bass, guitar, etc. So let's see how the new one compares, and I'm going to use the same material from the old video. So I'll import that now, and I'll just right-click on it, scroll down to processing and click on Stem Splitter. And I'm actually going to untick piano because this doesn't have a piano, but this song has vocals, drums, bass, and guitar. Many guitars. So we'll see how it handles those. And that just took about 1 to 2 seconds. So that is nice. Now, for those of you unaware, I'll just play about 40 seconds or so of the song just so we can have some context. Okay, so let's hone in on the drums first and see how these did. So there is some of that phasiness that I described in the first iteration of Stem Splitter that I wasn't very pleased with. However, this is more punchy. There's a better center image. Let's go to the chorus. It does a good job picking up on the kick and the snare, not so much the ride. It's doing okay with the cymbals, but again, there's a little bit of that phasiness. It's not as bad as it used to be. And to be fair, I have yet to find a Stem Splitter that can really eliminate those issues. Let me know in the comment section if you have actually found a different one that works better than this. Let's go to here. What are these? The vocals, the oohs and ahs. Yes, again, same issue. However, it's not as bad as it used to be. Now we got the bass. There's some good sub content there. However, that 1.5K poke through that you would want on an acoustic bass is pretty much missing. Let's see how it did with the guitars. This should be interesting. Okay, that I actually am pretty impressed with. There is like a frequency scoop that I am missing. However, the fact that it's able to basically separate all those guitars into a stem, it is impressive. Now, would I actually use this in a production? Probably not on its own. However, doing a bunch of processing and this or that, it might be a cool sample. That actually doesn't sound that bad. I got to applaud that. As hard as I have been on this technology, that's pretty impressive. Let's just give you context with the original song.
We could relax in a story and gaze into a cinnamon sun. Stories are one. Oh.
Let's see how it performed there on the drums. This is complex material. In other words, the intention is not to carve out 100% on each individual instrument its own frequency spectrum. Like in a lot of electronic pop music, you would do that. But this is supposed to be a band playing together, even though it was just me. So I understand the shortcomings with trying to separate stuff like this. Let me just listen to this bass one more time and we'll move on. Yeah, capturing the mid-range of an acoustic bass guitar seems to be where its shortcomings still live. All right, let's try one more example. I'll dump this song in. Okay, again, just for context, I'll play a little bit of the song.
Lying beneath blue streets, we'll start again. Tearing out the pages from the worn sun, sitting at the top of your mind.
Let's see how it did with the bass on this one. It's definitely an improvement over version 1, but I still get the same problems. Watery side effects, if you will, and the drums. Again, the drums are an improvement. However, it's got some of that tin can aspect to it. Vocals.
Lying beneath blue streets, we'll start again.
Not bad.
Tearing out the pages from the worn sun, sitting at the top of your mind.
This one has minimal side effects. They are still there, but minimal. Guitars. This should be interesting. Okay, it missed the fact that I was playing EBOs, which is completely understandable. So I'm actually going to do this again. This time I will include other and... That one definitely has artifacts in it, but it's very clean. It's clearly EBOs playing. Yeah, overall, this is a good update. This technology just needs work still, but I am impressed with how far this has moved along. Again, if you know a different program out there that you have tried that is better than this, let me know because I would love to try it. All right, so this next one looks pretty good to me. It's called Flashback Capture Recording, and this will definitely help me out because, you know, a lot of the time if I'm just sitting there playing away, like... just messing around on my guitar, I don't necessarily want to just have recording going the whole time, like while I'm just noodling. So sometimes I miss some ideas that I otherwise would have turned into songs. Doing this, I can just hit spacebar, so it's playing, but it's not recording. And now I can just play, you know. Now that wasn't very good, but you know, I hit stop and then I hit Shift R and boom, there it is. That's what I just did. Magic. I mean, this is also good. Like, suppose I was writing a part for a song that I've been working on, and there was drums and bass and guitars and vocals all over the place here. And I didn't want to just, you know, set a loop and, you know, hit record, and then you end up with a big giant take folder. This way, you can just set a loop and hit play and, you know, play around. And then when you stumble across something that you like, then you just hit Shift R and you're left with just that and not a giant take folder. So this is a very useful, welcome addition to Logic Pro, and it's really cool. All right, this next one is a little small update. You can search for and select a track. So if you've got a big session like I have here, and there's a lot of drums, a lot of guitars, tons of vocals, you can press Control, Command T, and that opens up this little window, and you can search for all your different vocal tracks. Of course, you've got to be a lot better than I am to actually be able to hone in on what you're looking for. My naming schemes are terrible. I usually just end up recognizing things by sight. So this isn't really going to help me too much. I mean, as you can see here, I got dozens of vocal tracks and they all start with like vocal 7, BG, reg, I don't even know what they are. So yeah, if you're better than I am at your naming schemes, then this will probably be a time saver for you. But if you're insane like I am, then probably not. All right, so now let's go to my mixer. And this next one is a little weird. I don't know how necessary it is. It's almost like Spinal Tap, this amp goes to 11 kind of thing. However, I guess you can now make these faders longer than they are here. This is so that you can make micro adjustments. So if I go to View and then go to Long Faders, you'll see that now they're longer. So yeah, I mean, now I can make like 0.1 decibel adjustments a lot easier. However, a different way of doing the same thing would just be to, make the option to click on the fader, hold Shift, and then it would slow down the speed of the fader so that you can make micro adjustments that way. It's like, do I really need a longer actual fader? I don't know. Maybe I'm alone in this. Anyways, another small update is now you can include the output meter in your control bar, or your display rather. So now here, this used to just be available for the master volume fader, and now you can see the output. I was actually kind of excited about that until I realized that it doesn't really show any metering other than if you're like overloading something. It doesn't show peak value, RMS, LUFS. That'd be cool, but I still will have like a durometer on my output, so I'm probably not even going to use that. Yeah, if it had more measurements in it, that'd be great, but as it is, it's like whatever. Something else that is welcome is the update to their Quantec Room Simulator plugin and the Quantec Yardstick. I really like this reverb. It was really welcome to see it when it came out because Logic has always struggled with a strong algorithmic reverb, and now they have one.
Lens blurred on an empty night.
So the new addition is if I click on secondary, then I can flip the phase of the early reflection. So this could help your source remain distinct from the reverb if it's getting drowned out too much.
Lens blurred on an empty night. Lens blurred on an empty night.
It may or may not make a difference for you. It depends on the source. And also what I can do now is I can really crush the emulation of the analog to digital and digital to analog converters. This will most likely provide a lot of crunchiness, which can help tame transients, or it could add obvious distortion if you want it to. Let's make this a completely wet signal, so I will mute the dry signal. Let's hear this.
Cold skies were the first ones revealed.
All the way up.
Cold skies were the first ones revealed.
Yeah, that basically adds some distortion. It's kind of cool to have that inside of the plugin. I mean, there's many, many different ways that you can go about distorting something, but yeah, it's a welcome addition. There's also some additions to spatial audio in 11.2. So real quick, let's pretend like I'm doing a Dolby Atmos mix. I go to Mix, Dolby Atmos, Spatial Audio to Dolby. Okay, and I'll just go to my vocal and view it in 3D Object Panner. And now you'll see that I can actually change the elevation in the mixer window. So if I double click this, you can see that the elevation is changing as I control this little slider. So also in the Atmos plugin itself, when you choose the Apple renderer, you're left with these 4 options available. For head tracking, I can turn my personalized spatial audio on or off, and then I can choose between 2 modes, music or film and TV. Also, the Dolby Atmos plugin offers a new 2.0 direct monitoring option so that you can get a depiction of how your mix will translate to stereo if you monitor through this setting. You can also just bounce down to a stereo file using this option as well. Anyways, moving on. Okay, one of the more interesting updates is integration with ChatGPT. This might help with writer's block. So from the release notes, it says, explore ideas like song lyrics, chords, and more using ChatGPT with integrated writing tools. Okay, how do I enable this? I'm gonna figure that out, and I'll be right back. Okay, I guess I have to go to my notepad, go to this. So I click on this little window there, and here's my writing tools icon. And I can choose different demeanors of the responses I get, from friendly to professional to concise. So this is for Apple Silicon only. So if you have an older Intel Mac or, a tower that you paid 50 grand for in 2019, then you're out of luck. This is really cool, but this is going to take some diving into. This might even warrant its own video. So rather than fake my way through it, I'm just going to let you know that this is out there now, and I'm not really sure how different it is compared to just having like a browser open with ChatGPT. I don't know yet. So yeah, this is just going to take some experimenting. But maybe it's the coolest thing ever. Regardless, many of these updates are welcome. Flashback recording is going to save a lot of hard drive space for me. While the technology of stem splitting in general, I think, needs work, this is a huge improvement over the first iteration. The updates to the Room Simulator plugin are welcome, as well as the updates to the Atmos plugin and the mixer. So cool, I hope you got something useful out of this video, and if you have, then please give it a like, and perhaps subscribe to Como Music Creation if you haven't already. And if you really like me, then you can send me a few bucks and buy me a coffee through the link in my description. Also, if you want to start a flame war and tell me why your DAW is better than mine, then do so in the comments. Thank you very much, and I will see you next time.